Good evening. This is Monique Jefferson, and I'm responding to Roderick McKenzie's discussion board three post in relation to Carlos and Lydia and their cultural differences. Carlos being Hispanic and Lydia being white. Um, I like in there that you mentioned that Carlos and Lydia have had each seen the importance of a close bond within the immediate family and want the same thing for their marriage, which is to have children because they're having the problems. Um, and even though Carlos's mom and dad weren't together, Carlos's mom still maintained the relationship between her son and his father by allowing him to go to Mexico and be involved with his family down there. Um, the thing, though, that really touched me about the article was that you find that she is a native of Mexico as well. And so he had, even though he's in America and raised in America, he probably more than likely still had a heavy Hispanic influence, a heavy Mexican culture influence in his life, even though he lived in America. And so his sense of family is a little bit different than Lydia. And so I see where you had, where you mentioned that he's exhibiting the traits of the culture with the close knit sense of family as the felicimo and the machismo. You know, like I'm the head of the family. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to take care of everybody. Um, that's mentioned in our text. And so by him wanting to take care of his father, that's what the Hispanic culture does. They don't throw their seniors away. They don't put them in nursing homes. They keep them at the house. Like it's always multi generational, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I grew up in a multicultural village. I've got relatives from all nations and neighbors. They were all military um, that were of all nations, and so I noticed a lot of that. Like black and brown people have a tendency to keep their seniors at the house, where white people have a tendency to put grandma in the nursing home, divide up her stuff, and keep it moving, and maybe visit them every now and then. Um, and so, with Lydia growing up middle class and white, that might not have been her idea of, how we deal with granddad. Pops is not moving in. What? We don't do that. Whereas Carlos, being the only son, is expected to take care of his father. And on top of that, the medical resources and the the different resources that we have here in America, as opposed to what they have over there in Mexico. Oh, what? You upgraded and you leave your dad here and he's sick and he's an old man? Oh no, he would be disgraced by his family that he's close to down in Mexico. And because his mother and his father are from Mexico, and she had just moved over here when she was pregnant, that means his entire family would have really been on his butt about leaving his father, who is an old man, and they cool again down here in Mexico, you know. And the more interesting thing is, depending on if the older aunts, uncles, or his grandparents are still living, they may end up at the house too, in the spare rooms. Um, and so for me, it felt almost kind of selfish, just because that's the culture that I grew up in, to not want to take care of the elders who helped raise you. Um, I grew up in a household where I would, even though I lived with my mom, I went every week to my grandmother's house. And then I lived with her when she got sick so that somebody was in the house. And then as an adult, I actually was part of the in-home care team that took care of her at night. My mother, my two uncles, and myself. And then she had nurses that came in throughout the course of the day, that went with her to different appointments while we were at work and stuff like that. So, um, But excellent post. I greatly appreciate it and I look forward to seeing what else comes next. Have a blessing.